Hi, Andrea White, CEO of Elite Leadership Coaching by Andrea, where we help women of color win in career advancement. Today, I'm dropping in tip 5 of tips to ask for, negotiate a pay raise. And so these tips are meant to boost your income beyond your typical 3-5% annual pay raise. We're talking about moving the needle in your income. And so you shall see in my feed that there are about 4 tips before this particular tip. So scroll back through the feed to catch tips 1 through 4, and then you are right on pace to be able to put everything together to be able to secure a pay raise. Okay, so tip 5 is all around collaborating to negotiate. You would be surprised at how often people don't really understand the importance of this first tip, and that is to make sure that as you enter into negotiations, as you ready and prepare yourself, that this conversation actually happens in person, face to face, which may be a little bit difficult right now given our circumstances. And so you may be able to have a little bit of wiggle room. But if we were not in our current situation, it would be absolutely critical that this particular conversation happens face to face. And with what we're dealing with now in terms of working from home, maybe it's a part of your, weekly check-in, or maybe if it's time for mid-year or, annual performance evaluation discussions, then, maybe that is a time to maybe think about having a conversation, or depending upon, better than anybody, maybe the, mid-performance evaluation as well as your annual evaluation. Those may be really stressful times for your manager, and so you actually may want to stay away from those periods of times. But you do want to figure out, the best way to have this conversation. And so before now, I always recommend to my clients that you have this conversation face to face, certainly not by email or text, etc. And so to the degree possible, you want to make sure that you enter into this discussion face to face. Tip number 2 is to actually pick a time. I just kind of alluded to this. Pick a time that is not stressful for you or your manager. You want to be able to have this conversation without any conflict, without, any distractions, without being under any type of stress on either of your behalf. And so you want to make sure that the time that you all schedule, even if you schedule it out, and then as you come into the meeting, you want to make sure that now is still a really good time to have, a very, candid conversation. And then third tip is to be able to explain what's in it for them. So asking for this particular salary increase, what is the value that you're bringing to the team, to the department, to the organization? There's more information about this particular tip in one of the tips before now. I can't remember whether it's tip 1, 2, 3, or 4, but you can scroll through my feed to get more information about that. But you definitely want to be able to communicate and quantify the value that you bring to your team, to your department, even to maybe your manager as well as the organization. And so one of the tips that I've already provided kind of walks you through that process. It gives you some ideas about how to put that value together. So you want to scroll through the feed and catch one of those other tips. The next tip is don't give an ultimatum. That is not where we're going, okay? Giving ultimatums can really damage relationships. And so even if it doesn't work out, you know, and ultimately the salary increase is not granted, you don't want to have, you know, burned the relationship, made the relationship strained, etc. Because, you know, even if you decide to leave because this is, you know, sort of a make or break kind of deal for you, you still want to be able to make connection back to this organization. So A, don't give the ultimatum, and B, even if it doesn't work out, you want to make sure that that bridge is still whole. And then you also want, the next tip, you also want to be prepared with a list of options that you may, you know, compromise for in exchange for not being able to get a salary increase. So, you know, are there opportunities for, you know, additional days off? Are there additional, you know, opportunities for, I don't know, health and wellness benefits? Something that's important to you. You know, it used to be, you know, that asking for, you know, additional hours to telecommute or work remotely, that was, you know, a very common additional benefit to ask for in exchange for a salary increase. So if you're not in that situation right now where you do have more flexibility in terms of working from home, working remotely, maybe that is, you know, one of the compromises that you're willing to accept. But if you're already in that situation, working remotely, think of some other possibilities that you're willing to compromise on in exchange for not receiving an increase in salary. And then the last tip is to follow up if needed. Perhaps when you have had this conversation, your manager may say, you know, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. And so you may leave out of the meeting without a direct answer. And so you want to make sure, you know, after about 5 to 7 days, if you haven't heard anything, that you take the initiative to follow up. And you also want to make sure that as you follow up and in that waiting period and, you know, during the conversation, that you're remaining professional at all times. Either way that it goes, you want to make sure that you know, stay cool, calm, collected, and composed. After all, you are asking for a salary increase, and you are talking about the value that you bring to the team and to the department and to the organization. And so it's really critical that, you know, you demonstrate that through professional behavior at all times. And maybe a no is not a no, but maybe it's a no, not right now. And so remaining cool, calm, collected, and professional is certainly an opportunity to leave that door open for future opportunities. So that's all I have for you. I have some additional tips that will be rolling out over, you know, the next few days as well, to continue the conversation around tips to negotiate a salary increase. If you have any tips that have worked for you, drop them below in the comments so that other people can also benefit from your example and the strategies that you use. And so until next time, I'm Andrea White, CEO of Elite Leadership Coaching by Andrea, where we help women of color win in career advancement. Until next time, remember to act, stand out, and elevate.